up next, there's only been one speaker besides me and Todd who have spoken at every single Funnel Hacking Live we've ever had, and that is our next presenter. His name's Garrett J. White, and some of you guys may have heard Garrett speak before. He is super intense. It's not like, there's like the Russell, like, I'm happy and excited, and there's like the Garrett who is super intense, who's gonna yell at you and force you to do the thing, but he's amazing. The one downside typically is when he speaks at Funnel Hacking Live, we have the parental discretionary warnings. We ask people if they get offended by language to leave. But good thing is that we have the video presentation from this. We're able to go through and edit out all of the curse words and all of the things. So there's going to be a couple quiet moments that you'll hear in the video, but it is been cleaned up so you guys don't have to worry about that side of it. And hopefully we didn't miss any. We've done our best. But I wanted to show this presentation because the reason why I've had Garrett come back 5 years in a row is because he has the ability to get people to move, to understand things, to find something different inside yourself that oftentimes it's the fuel, the fire you need to get to the next step. And during the presentation you're about to hear from him, he gave a framework, and the framework's called Stop, Struggle, Submit, and Strike. And I don't want to ruin the surprise until you have a chance to go through it, but it literally is one of my favorite presentations I've ever seen him give. It was powerful, it was moving, and I think it's something you guys are all going to enjoy. I think it's going to be a super powerful tool for you guys to have as you're moving forward in your business. And so that's why I wanted to share this presentation next. So we've got two presentations. We've got Garrett J. White. And then after Garrett, we've got Brendan Bouchard, who's going to be ending the event today. Well, I'll talk about Brendan next, but that's kind of game plan. So with that said, we're going to load up the presentation from Mr. Garrett J. White. With that said, if everyone can stand up on their feet and put their hands together for Mr. Garrett J. White.
For the 16th time in less than 4 weeks, I found myself sitting on a couch. I was on one side, and my wife was as far away as she could be on the other. Across from us was our therapist. The year was 2016. The Wake Up Warrior movement was fully underway, as we had been teaching the conversation of having it all across the world to men like me. Men who wanted more, but men who had no idea how to find this, nor even define what more was. And I had found some answers, and yet there I sat in 2016 on one end of a couch with my wife at the other, with a therapist, under a decision that we had both made, that if we could not bring to terms who we were as a couple in a final couple issues, topics, desires that I had and that she had, that it was time to shut Warrior down and time to divorce and to be done. And so I sat listening for the 16th time as my wife had space for the very first time to speak at levels of truth that, for whatever reason, the frame that I was in was not open enough to receive, to hear, or to consider as true. And so I sat. And she shared, and the therapist would come to me and ask me something, and then I would yell. And then she would come to my wife, and then my wife would say something, and my wife had not yelled the entire session. And finally, out of some gut-wrenching pressure inside of her, I still to this day don't know what it was that ignited, outside of a desire of being a woman, to give a voice to herself and permission to rise, to shatter a story inside of her own mind that I had placed inside of her mind years before. And she said, I want to want you. I want to be connected, but I don't know how to do it with you. And I sat as she continued, speaking and sharing truths that were true and deep inside of her soul, truths she had not spoken with such intensity before. And something broke inside of me. I listened as she shared, and I looked down at her across the way, and it was as if I was listening to a woman that I had never seen before. Who is this woman that's speaking? I don't know who this is. My mind had nothing to register for what I was hearing coming out of her mouth. Because I had a story that had started in my first marriage when I was young, that ended in divorce. A story that had continued for the first 14 to 15 years that we were married. A story that was so strong, a frame that was so strong that inside of my mind, no matter what she did, no matter what she said, she was hostage to the frame that came out of my own mind and out of my own heart and out of my own words in my mouth, because I had said that to her. I had told her that she didn't want me. I had told her that she was not wanting to be intimate with me. I had told her that she didn't want to have. I had said this for so long that not only did I believe it, but she believed it. And in one instant, what she said was in such contradiction to the story, and because of 16 sessions, 2 to 3 hours of time, inside of that environment, for the very first time, a story that had gained root almost 20 years before broke. See, this is the challenge that you face coming to an event like this. Coming to a place like this, the challenge that you face is that you get new ideas and you get new concepts, and you find inside of yourself a desire for something more. It's why you came. Those that I got pictures with outside before I got in here, I see it in your eyes. I watch it. People say, why do you come here? I said, because I was you. I am you. No different. And we suffer from an issue, but also can leverage that same issue, which is our stories run our entire lives. Some of you sitting, your story will make it impossible for you to hear anything I say today. The frame, no different than I held hostage over my wife, holds me and anyone up here hostage, because a desire you have that no matter what you hear, your story says, I'm going to fail. I'm not worthy for this. I can't do this. Funnels are too hard. ClickFunnels as a software is too challenging. All of these things become the scripture that we speak into our own minds. But I had never once considered that my marriage, that my family, that my business, and that my bank accounts were being held hostage by something that I had no concept, nor skill, nor understanding of how to even engage and deal with. And it wasn't enough to just cheer. It wasn't enough to pound my chest and yell some positive affirmations. I had to have more. I needed more. That got me lit up, but I needed something that would inspire an ability to do something regardless of everyone else's fire. That I wouldn't have to watch a Gary Vee video. I wouldn't have to watch a Garrett video. I wouldn't have to watch any videos. But there was a place that I could go every single day where I could investigate two things. One, what do I truly want? What do I truly want? You'll see in rooms like this and inside conversations, people throwing out all kinds of numbers. I want this. It seems that the new 10 million is 100 million. Back in the day, not too many decades ago, even if you said a million, it was like, what the million? Now I ask my kids if they would like to make some extra money, And I tell them, you can do this and you can make $5. And they're like, Dad, you're never going to be a millionaire doing that. As they sit and play Roblox, I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. There's a shift inside that has to happen, though, about getting clear about what you want. Most of you have financial targets based upon a desire to build something here that's completely ridiculous. You don't need it. The amount of money you made this year compared to the money you could make at the end of this year, if you got real with yourself about what the actual number is, what is it and why? If you got real with yourself in marriage, what do you want, really? More money, more employees, more funnels, more traffic, more. For what? For what? I sat in a boardroom for 3 days working on my business with my CFO and my teams before I got here. Sitting and listening, and I'm confronting and colliding. I'm like, what do we actually want? What is it that's driving all of this madness? In the situation with my wife, it was clear. 3 months before, my wife, which I took an actual text message exchange. This book is the most vulnerable book I have ever put out to the marketplace, and I wanted you to have it. Because the weapons that we'll talk about today not only have the possibility of liberating you as a businessman or woman, but they have the possibility of liberating you as a person. But liberating you from the hostage situation that you've placed the current version of you in, that will give you the tools to go hunt down the version of you that you know inside that you desire to become. Some of you have sat in this room year over year over year, and not much has changed. And I ask you why? Why? Some of you have come to this room and you build big success, but then you let it fall apart. Why? Some of you have built success and you come to this room and you're facing so much pressure in what you've built that all the problems that you have today, which you were hoping and praying and begging and pleading for, are so overwhelming it has you ask why. So a message from my wife after I messaged her through text and I said, it's probably time for you to date other men. She said, I know you're flying, but I thought, this is page 58. I know you were flying, but I thought I would text you my thoughts on what I read. Surprisingly, I could agree with most of it. We are so great in so many ways. Both of us want us to work, but can't see a clear path. We hold on with hope. To hold on any longer, even if another 5 years sounds exhausting, as of right now, because we're in a very painful place, and I'm not ready to let go or throw away our history together. How many years did it take you to go from good to great with business? Are you a great, or can you at least see a great path to great? How many more years to great, or does it ever end? I think that's the problem. We're good, but can't see a clear path to be great. I don't have a desire to date others. It actually sounds exhausting. This being the case, if we date others, you would find someone else. I'm not sure how I would be if I dated someone else. Maybe I would feel safe and open up more. I know to win my heart is harder than for someone who wanted to win your heart. The only thing I could think is to date others without sleeping with them, having an open relationship. I'm not sure how this would work with kids. I wouldn't know what to tell them. It would be weird to date and be married. I had a story that changed. It was a simple story. The story was not that my wife doesn't want me. The story is that my wife wants me. And I must work to make that story true. See, here's the challenge. The challenge is that right here is what you say you want. It's what you say you want. If I sat every single one of you up here with a microphone, we went through your business and I said, what exactly do you want? And we went after it over and over and over and over again. 98% of this room is clueless You have wandering ideas about what you want. Well, I want this, and I want that, and I want this, and I want to clap, and I want this, and I want to feel good, and I want to feel good, and I want to watch a Gary Vee video. Not taken away. He's got a lot of great videos, like 75 a day he puts out there. So you got plenty of content. But my experience is it's not going to help you get much clearer about this. What do I want? Over here is what I want. It's clear. Here is what I want. This is where I'm committed to going. This is what I want. It's measurable. I know this is what I want. This is what I want. So how would being wanted by my wife show up? That we could communicate on hard conversations and I wouldn't completely implode and drop off the canyon. That we could talk, that my wife could have a voice and come at me. I had to change another story. My wife's a critical, constantly is criticizing everything I do. That's tough. Because no matter what she would say, it would go into the frame. My wife's a critical, just critiques everything I do. Another one backed up to it. My wife's not supportive. She doesn't support what I do. She doesn't support what I'm up to. She doesn't care about my calling. And these stories stack themselves up. Now, amidst all of this, I wasn't even clear about what I wanted over here. So then you start over here and you leave Funnel Hacking Live and you're all pumped. You're like, yes, 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 yes. And you're super pumped. And you got your tag and you're doing the pictures and you girls are filtering 75 times, getting the angle with your girlfriend. You're doing the candid. It's so candid, I don't know how we just naturally 375 shots with a burst and 15 filters got the picture to work. I know, I'm an Instagram husband. Can't you just put a filter on that? Can you just? That's why I like the burst. You just push and just hold like a shotgun, like a machine gun. Hey, there you go, 4,000 pictures. Have fun for the next 5 hours. So then we come over and we say, okay, here's what I want. And then the game begins. Because we start down this path to this thing we say we want. This assuming you even know what you want. So let's assume you do. And then you get going. Now, all these stories and all this inside that's been operating for long before you got here, that gave you the results that you have today, those stories start immediately upon the walk. So you begin walking. And you come back to Funnel Hacking Live 2021. You say yes, 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 you're super pumped. You're like, it's going to be different this year, and you start. Right back to the same place before. You're like, how do I keep doing this? Then we say stupid things like, oh, it must be my product. It must be my logo. It must be my design issue. It must be because ClickFunnels is hard. It's so hard to click and drag. Look at that, it worked. Click. You can do it, come on. Drag. And drop. Oh, it worked. But it doesn't matter how easy it is because every single time you start going, there's a shift that comes driven by your story. So the first thing I found that had to exist inside of this was I had to actually acknowledge that my stories run the game. What changed my game with advertising? You talk to some people about putting money into ads. They'll put money into shoes, suits, watches, everything. Designers, except you say, hey, I'd like you to put some money into advertising. Ooh. Then they finally do. And then this weird thing happens. They run ads. And you're a nice person. You run ads. Nice people run ads, not just like me. So you're running it and you're a nice person and this weird thing happens on your ads. What happens? People people talk. Now it's amazing. We ran some ads with my mother. My mother's the nicest person ever. People are talking. The minute they talk, where does she go? I can't run ads anymore. The storyline for me in advertising was switched very simple. It was advertising's expensive, it's risky. 2, if I stop or don't advertise daily, I do not have a business. So when my teams come and say, well, the ads are doing this, what should we do? I said, you can make any adjustment but what you want, but the one thing you can't do is stop what? Advertising. And that became a story that ran my business 6 years ago, and it never has stopped. I just keep running and adjusting and changing, driven by this story. Before that, no way. I'd run some ads. I'd do the stupid thing, which I'd sit down, I'd look at my computer, I would refresh the Facebook Ad Manager. I would refresh the Facebook Ad Manager. I would come back and look at it again, and I would see like one thing go down, and I'm like, oh, eject, shut it down right now. Woo! Almost lost $6. Woo! Woo! Good thing I put those safety parameters on my ads. So we come back to this challenge that this assumes that you know what you want, you're halfway because of your stories. Okay, now if you don't even know what you want, you end up like a crazy person. You get hyped up, you get pumped, and you just start running around. You're pumped. You're like, yeah, this is great. People are like, where are you going? I don't know. I don't even know. What are you trying to do? I don't even know. But it feels good. Obviously. And where are you trying to go? I don't know. But are you going to Funnel Hacking Live 2021? Yeah. You bet your here. Got our tickets, hashtag coming next year. I'm in. So I'm going to ask you an interesting question. Interesting question is going to require you to participate, and I'm going to talk to a couple of you. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Take out something to write with, and you're going to answer a simple question. It's simple. It's a simple question to ask people. Might not be so simple to get an answer to. What is the one measurable thing that must be true about your business 12 months from today? We enter into 2021. What is one measurable thing that must be true about your business 12 months from today? How many already know what it is? All right, stand up. What's your name and where are you from?
Andres Zuleta, originally from Colombia, but I live in Portland.
De Colombia, pero vives en Portland. Entonces seguimos en español con eso, ¿ok? Everyone's like, no, please, speak in English. Okay, real. What is it?
18,000 people have to have their diabetes reversed.
So 18,000 people have had their diabetes reversed. Okay, so how are you going to measure 18,000 people have diabetes reversed via you?
That they have joined our 14-day challenge.
Okay, beautiful. So I got 18,000 people who have joined our 14-day challenge?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So super measurable. We would know, because you and I could sit down, we could look in the accounts, we could measure it. We could say, well, there's 18,000. Right? If it was 14,000, 4,300, we would know. And throughout the year, you would know if you were getting closer to it or not. Next question, why? Why does that matter to you? Why? Why, right? It's really important. It's the fuel that makes you go. But oftentimes the why is so big, it's overwhelming. We're like, it's a huge why. You're like, oh, and some of you are like, that's not really a big why. I just want to pay my bills. That's great. Some of you is like massive. I want to change the world. I want to end whatever the thing is I want to end. Thanks, Dave. What is your why?
Because every day, day in and day out, I see people in the hospital dying every day, right? I'm a doctor. And we've gotten it all wrong. I was educated as a doctor with a bunch of books. Yes, pharmaceuticals help people, but 70% of the story is missing. Why? Because we as doctors have not become good marketers.
Oh. You feel that? You feel that? You feel how you're gripping the mic tighter? You feel the beads of sweat down your forehead? Feel like how you just want to hit the guy in front of you with the microphone? I know. That's good. That's the kind of fire I'm needing in here. Now that is different than where do I want to go? Because if I'm up here and I say it with Andres, I'm like, hey, it's 18,000 people directly impacted and reversing diabetes on my watch in the 14-day challenge. Super measurable. Okay. Now we come to Monday next week, Andres, in Portland, and you're going to wake up, and then you're going to need a little fire to get there. What's the story that Andres is going to have to tell himself to get there? There's a bunch of them, but let's just identify one. What is one story that's got to be true? And this is for all of you. You come back and get clear. Here's where I'm going to go. Here's the thing I'm committed to. I'll come to you in just a sec, sweetheart. Here's the thing I'm going to. Here's why I'm going to go to this thing. I got the fire. I've made my move. I'm jumping on my tramp. I'm doing whatever I need to do to get my going. Perfect. But now, am I going to crash into the wall, Andres? Or am I going to go towards a place? And what happens if my story changes halfway through? And I wake up in the morning as a king and the crown is so heavy. And I'm there, I'm 3 months down the road, but now it's 3 months in 1 week, and there's this piece in me that's like, I can't do this anymore. I was so pumped to go to 18,000, but we're at 537 in 6 months. And my not working. And people are talking, and they're making fun of me, and doctors have turned on me. They're saying I'm a hypocrite, I'm a liar, that I'm full of shit. People are going to try to discredit you. They're going to talk about you. And in that place, there has to be more than fire. There has to be scripture. Sacred scripture. Scripture that you wrote. Here's where I'm going to go. Here's why I'm going to go there. You have that piece. Now I need a story, and you're going to have to learn how to adjust that story the entire time, because everything between here and there is going to be nothing like you think it will be. This box, inspired by Russell. I had to change the story, Andres, about Warrior. I was sitting on a flight a year and a couple months ago, and this boys came to me and had me question the core of the model of Wake Up Warrior. Question it. It was a simple question. And the question was, why did you start Warrior Week? Warrior Week was 61 events, 1,000 plus men have come to this event. It works, it's profitable, it leads into another model. It was a $10 to $12 million a year line of revenue for the business. It was amazing. And this question came and said, why did you start it? And that led me down a bunch of other questions that I had to have the courage, Andres, to answer inside of my journal. And then I had to go into my stack and my software, and I had to start answering really hard questions. Because I had a story, and the story was to bring the message of Warrior to the world, I had to put coaches in between the curriculum and the change. And so I tried for 6 years to leverage coaches and trainers and build them up only to watch them grow and then get crazy weird inside, and our organization would start to implode. And from the outside, you saw ads. What you didn't see from the inside was war. As people who had very little came to work for me and made a ton, and now all of a sudden, they had an opinion. And so the king had to bring out the sword and remind some who started this. And then, with all their heads on the wall, I asked a different question. Well, what if that's not true? What if they weren't the enemy? What if this war started because of you? Oh, that's a hard one, Andres, because that one was true. It's easy to make everybody else wrong, but it was me. One story, Andres. Just like my wife, I'd held her hostage. I'd held every coach and trainer come work for me hostage. I held every man that came to Warrior hostage because I had a story, and the story was you cannot experience change without a coach in between curriculum and change. And I remembered all the years that I spent reading books. How many of you read a book that just changed your entire world, but you never actually worked at all with the author? Raise your hand. I'm not saying that in a downplaying way. I'm saying this is a book that impacted you. You've never met the people who wrote it, and yet it changed you. How many of you read .com Secrets or Expert Secrets, and just the conversation in that book shattered your mind and opened you up to even be here? Raise your hand. So there's a shift that changed in my mind. This then brought about with it a series of actions, one of which was a commitment to write 5 books and build 4 apps. An impossible game. Impossible. I'd written 1 book in like 6 years. 18,000 people. How many people have you impacted so far?
3.
Okay. So the difference between 3, clap it up. The difference between 3 it's manageable. Just a couple eyeballs to look at. This room's like 4,000 people. You want 18,000 people. What made you good at 3 is insufficient at 200. That means the guy you have to become to do 18,000, that guy wouldn't hire you to pull off the thing you say you want to pull off. You're not good enough to do it. That's not a downplay on you. The current version of you gave you what you have. But a future version of you spoke some ideas into your mind. Way up on a hill, spoke them into your mind, spoke them into your heart, gave you some ideas, said, hey, here's where you're going to go. Some of you are running businesses that run you. Some of you. Did you get excited about the 10X Club? There's a whole load of pain that comes with that too. Whole load of problems. There's all kinds of stories that we have from the outside. We want everybody else's problems, but we're not willing to shoot the person we are in the head to become the person we must be to have those problems. So we sit stuck, married to ourselves, saying, no, this is who I'm going to be. That's how it's always been. That's how we go. That was me with Danielle. Over and over and over again with my wife, holding her hostage to who she'd been based on a story I created a decade ago. No chance to become something bigger than that. So you can set targets all day long about where you say you want to go. That's brilliant. There's a lot of people who can help you with this. A lot of great trainers can do this. You can get lit on fire to go there. You can create 19 vision boards and have a digital one tattooed on your chest, look at it in the mirror. You could do all kinds of like this. It's great. I'm not saying don't do it. But I'm saying if you don't learn to deal with this in a strategic way on a daily basis, how many of you have experienced the rage of technology? Raise your hand. How many of you sitting at home have said some things, even if they were in your mind, about the ClickFunnels software, even though it's super easy? You've said some things under your breath and gotten frustrated, or maybe wanted to drink at 7:15 in the morning. Raise your hands. Good news. Good news. That's your fault. And that's the pressure of having to let go, Andres, of you now. The fire is great. This is the warrior. He's like, hit everybody up. I'm taking on diabetes. Yes. How many got? 3. Okay. How do we get to 18,000 then? We got to get 3 what? More, and then 10, and then 15. And at 100, we got to figure out if it's even working. Can I even get results? It's one thing to talk to people about diabetes. It's another thing to actually have people reverse diabetes. I got diabetic sisters. It doesn't seem to matter how they watch, read, or consume. It's not changing. Internally, what's not changing? A story about themselves. So no matter what they attempt to do, the story continues to run the racket in the game. So here's the deal. It's important you talk about this, because there's what I'm saying, and then there's what you're hearing me say. These are not the same things. They never are, because you're hearing through the frame of who you are. This was me and my wife. She would say things to me for years, but I would never hear her. I would hear her through my frame. And then my frame shattered, and for the first time I could hear her. So I need to know, what are you hearing? What's going on for you here? Because when it gets big, the pressure goes exponential. And when you play together, that goes nuclear. Come on way to the back. To the back. Yes. That's right, bro. I saw you from the front. Let's go. I like it. Capitalist pig. Stand up.
You like it?
What's your name? Where are you from?
Nate, Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City, Utah. All right. All right. If you were from Texas, you'd have cheered louder. I'm saying it's a powerful thing. Okay, what are you hearing on this? Like, what are you getting from this so far?
What I'm hearing is that in order for me to get where I want to go, I have to kill the version of myself that currently exists that is keeping me stuck where I'm at.
Awesome. And the first way to do that is what? Change what?
Mindset.
Which is change your story.
Yeah. I'm with you.
This piece of change of a story, this is the piece I want you to stay with me. Don't go anywhere yet.
Yeah.
This is the piece I want you to get. Like, people are like, well, I have to change. You're like, awesome. What does that mean? Change what? Well, I got to change. Well, change what? Change the story I have about who? About myself. I just had a story about me. I had a story about me in the bedroom. He was not a really powerful guy under that story. Didn't get done. Was not. I needed to work on my game. Just like that hat tells me. Let me see that hat. Can I pop this for a second? This is what I needed. But where's the camera at? No camera? Can you see it? This is what I needed right here. How to work on my game. I even had friends telling me that, like, bro, what the are you doing? Work on your game. I was like, I don't know what that means. So they would give me moves. None of these moves worked. Why? Because the story I had about myself fucked up. Now, it was a different story I had about me than my wife had about me. When I started telling the story about myself, it was more in alignment with the story she actually believed. Magic happened. I was like, I looked at her one day, I was like, you totally changed. Whoa. She said, no. I've pretty much been the same the whole time. You changed. Specifically, I changed what? My story. You're welcome. Because the same principles put my marriage back together are the same principles put my business back together. What's one story that you know has to change, Nate, about you?
The story that has to change about me is if I really believe that I can have the impact that I want to have, then I will be much louder, much more productive, much more focused about spreading my message to the people who I know need to hear it.
Okay, beautiful. But the current story is what?
The current story is that I gotta wait a little bit for results.
Okay, beautiful. I need to get ready to go.
Yep.
I just need to get ready to go. I need to get some reps.
Just a little more ready.
A little more stretching out. That was exactly how I used to play it too. I was like, oh, I just watched the perfect webinar one more time. I think I'll be ready to go. And then you get a message from some divine bot from Russell that's like, that's your 73rd time. How about you please just launch? Which shifts to the story of, I launch videos every day because making videos is who I am. Now, when I wake up and I'm having this as a story, and it's not a mantra, inside of the Stack tool, you're going to learn how to shift the whole thing, leverage your emotions in it, and make it become reality for you. I was terrified, now I'm not. Now my wife and I engage in a totally different way. She'll say stuff she used to say before that would trigger me, and I would go to pouty Garrett. Oh, God, she doesn't like me. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Which always ended up with, I'm married to the wrong woman. Wah, wah, wah. There's some woman out there that would support me in my weakness, but I was married to a queen who was not tolerating my. So we got a choice to change. The good news is that same skill to change that story changed everything else too. Nate, thank you. Okay. Now, I've been talking a little bit about my wife, but I'm going to let her have a voice right now. So we have, I think one of the hardest things in life is to build a business, to be married, to have children, and then to have children who become teenagers. So my daughter, 13, failing out of school, we pulled her out of school, we put her in online school, failing out of online school, made comments for the first time about killing herself. Which I wasn't really prepared for. I don't think any parent can be. Even if you think through it, you're like, not prepared for it. You know, somebody else's kid, not your kid. And this hit my wife real hard, triggered a ton of anxiety for her. We were gone quite a bit with some business trips last week. And there was just some things that happened that she chose not to be here to be with my daughter. But she had a message she wanted to share with you, and that's what we're going to play right now. And then we're going to come back to our conversation. Here we go.
I had worked all day at the salon, and I came home and I was working on my marketing. And at the time, I was also in charge of paying the bills. I walked downstairs to Garrett's office and looked at him and said, there's not enough money in the account to pay the bills. He looked at me and he said, I'm doing everything I can do. I just started crying. That was the moment I knew I've got to do this for myself and I've got to do this for my babies. I walked back into my room and continued to work on my marketing. At the time, we were financially struggling, emotionally disconnected and depleted. My story was always, Garrett has to pay the bills, Garrett's the provider. And because I was in such a painful place, I had to change my story. I was forced to change my story that I must become the provider. And I had 2 young children at the time. And at the time, like I said, I was doing hair. So I had to look at hair as a tool in order to provide an income for my family. I think that oftentimes the tool is right in front of us that can actually help provide an income. And we can actually become an expert in that tool right in front of us. So I changed my story from Garrett is the provider to I must help provide for my children because I just didn't know if I was going to stay married. 3 years later, my business had surpassed very much just being a hobby at this point. The next day happened to be a Saturday, and it was also my daughter's birthday, and I had scheduled an out-of-state client. Tears just, again, came streaming down my face. I was feeling out of balance, and I wanted to spend more time with my family, and I wanted to spend more time with my babies. But I knew something had to change. I did fulfill on that client, but then that night when I came home, I rescheduled the next Saturdays for the next 2 months. I said, I'm no longer working Saturdays anymore. And so I had this running story in my mind that in order to be successful, I had to experience this level of stress. And I changed my story to, I can create my own terms and agreements so that I don't experience this kind of stress. And so I stopped working Saturdays. I went from working 5 days a week to 3 days a week. And it really kind of started some spark in my industry, and people started to notice. 2 years later, as momentum started to pick up, This tool that I was providing for my students was working, but I felt like they needed more. I didn't give myself enough credit for what I had gone through as an individual and the shifts that I had made in my mind that was part of my success. And I knew they needed more. I didn't know how to do it. Garrett's company, Warrior, was starting to take off. And I remember I came to Garrett and I said, I need help. They need more. And we created a program together called Big Money Stylist. And of course, Garrett named that. And I'm like, that's so cheesy. He said, no, it's catchy. They'll like it. So we started this program. And my story was that Garrett was the businessman and I was the artist. I said, I can't do it. I don't know how to help him. I don't think I gave myself enough credit for the businesswoman I was at the time. And I think that oftentimes that happens. And it was okay. I felt like he was 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out of the door, because it wasn't his passion, it wasn't his vision, it was mine. I can't let this burn to the ground. And I started getting more and more involved. And he said, I no longer, you've got to take over. And I thought, I'm not willing to let this burn. I love this too much. The success stories that we were having at that point were incredible. And so I made a choice. I had to become 10x the businesswoman I was as the artist. And I was a good artist. So for the next year, I immersed myself into my business. And I think that oftentimes we think we need to be an expert in one area, but we don't realize that we actually have to become the expert in many areas. So the next year I put on my CEO pants and I really took back my company, and I saw the vision, and I started to just kind of get on fire with this next chapter, and I started to love numbers and software and all sorts of things. And I realized I loved being the businesswoman. I think that oftentimes we start to develop that passion when we put ourselves into that situation, and we become the expert when we're in that situation.
Inside of every story, there's a moment when something has to change. Our story that we're telling is no longer serving us. We don't even know we're telling the story. But the results in our life continue to show us that what we're getting is not working. Inside the way that we land our landing pages, to our funnels, to our sequences, to our carts, to our offers, to the results that our clients get. Everything is this constant game of here's what I want, but an understanding that at the beginning of all this is a story. And when things are not working, the first thing I have to do is stop. Stop. Just stop in the emotion of it. Because the feelings are what are going to show up. In many cases, it's the anger, it's the rage, it's the emotions that we don't want to talk about. Anger that gets suppressed becomes rage. Rage finds itself in explosive situations, firing people we shouldn't have fired, saying things to our spouses we shouldn't have said, exploding in ways because we were afraid to actually acknowledge that we were angry. And that anger was formed from a suppression of irritation. I'm irritated by something, but I don't know how to deal with this irritation, so I ignore it. I'm irritated, so I ignore, which builds into anger, which I ignore, which then explodes into rage. Or I just become neutered. It's amazing to me how many individuals I know in their 60s that operate like they're in their 90s and ready to die. Just giving up. And it's amazing to me how many people will continue in the insanity of their stories and even defend the story. Even when people who they want to get help and guidance from, they come to an event like this, they get tons of trainers, and yet they will worship the story that they've been telling before they got here. They will worship it on the way out the door to the cost of getting everything they want in life, because they're afraid to acknowledge that I'm telling some really stories about myself, about my spouse, about my clients, about my business. I watch people shut businesses down all the time. You shouldn't have shut those businesses down. But they got into a pocket of frustration and emotion. They didn't have any tools to deal with it. And so the weight of what they were experiencing had no outlet through a tool like the Stack to be able to engage and deal with whatever the feeling was. Rage, anger, irritation, happiness, gratitude, joy. It doesn't matter. We take that fire and we focus it in a new direction. But this requires us to stop. All right, on your feet, on your feet, on your feet, on your feet, on your feet. On your feet, let's go, on your feet, on your feet. All right, when I say move, you're gonna say stop. It's very easy. When I say move, you say stop. Move, move, move. Turn to the person next to you, look them in the face. Move, move. Take your right hand, and this time when you say stop, I want you to put it like you're in the blowing the whistle in 6th grade against bullying, and you put that hand right up in somebody's face like this, and you say stop when I say move. Here we go. Move, 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 move. Okay, beautiful. Have a seat. So the first thing we got to do is we got to stop. Second thing we got to do is we got to struggle. We're going to struggle. That's the second stop. Once I stop, I'm going to struggle. And the struggle is interesting because the struggle is a battle between getting clear about what the story is that I'm currently telling, the thing that I really want beyond this moment of insanity, and what is the story that I must tell that will get me there. There are so many moments I've been sitting in frustration with technology. I'm trying to get a funnel up, I'm trying to get a page up, and even though it's been built so simple, I'm just so dumb. And so I'm trying to be less dumb and less stupid and be more smart. And so I'm going, and I click and I drag and I click and I drag, and it's not working, and everything in me is like, I'm gonna work at the sandwich shop and surf every day in Costa Rica. Then I realized that's not what I want. What I want's over there. And then I investigate into the story. Okay, well, what am I telling myself right now? This is hard to work the first time. Instead of, I will continue to do this until I figure it out. Period. Well, my opt-in page didn't work. No, nobody's opt-in page works at first. And even when they do work, they stop working, which means you just got to get used to constantly rebuilding. Some of you are like, oh my God, it's like a treadmill that never ends. It just never ends. Yeah. So put Vaseline in between your legs so you don't chafe and start running. So we got to get clear about where we're going to go. We got to struggle with this for a minute. What do I want really? Right now, what do I really want? God, what I want is to launch this page. Okay. What story am I telling? I should work on my logos. No. I will stay committed to this and not go sleep until it's done. Okay. Step 3, I'm going to submit. I'm going to submit beyond the struggle to the new story and to the thing that I want. So I'm going to stop. But then I'm going to be in a bit of a struggle. This is what stacking's all about. I'm going to struggle with it. Okay, well, what do I really want? Can I be honest about that? This is a bigger problem than you think. Most of you are liars when it comes to being honest about what you want. It's scary to tell people what you want. It's scary to have conversations like my wife and I had with each other. This was real. Now, public, because we hope it inspires people to make some really powerful decisions inside of their marriage, inside their lives, to talk you're not talking about, because it doesn't work to keep it inside. Your frustrations about your business, it doesn't work, but this means you have to have the courage to stop the insanity. It took me sitting on a couch with a therapist, with my wife, to finally stop long enough to even be able to struggle, just to even be able to have the experience of struggle. Okay, well, what do I really want? Okay, well, what's the story that I've been telling? Is that giving me what I want? No. Not at all. Well, think about how crazy this is. My wife doesn't want me. How in any sense of reality could a story that you're running that's that intense, you told it for so long, could anything that person does adjust or collide with that story? So we'd have great, and I would still wake up the next morning and guess how I'd feel. God, my wife doesn't care about me. She doesn't want me. So it didn't matter. So finally I just got to a point where she was like, I'm tired of making these deposits because you're still So some of you girls are like laughing and giggling about this. I understand. I train men. It's all our fault. It's all right, we take it on. Your business, oh, that's your fault, man or woman. So this piece then of change inside of us requires us to struggle for a bit, but most of us are too weak in the struggle. We don't like to struggle. We go back to the thing we're comfortable with, which is telling a stupid story that doesn't give us what we want, because that's easier, because we don't want to struggle. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to fight a date night for 2 years in a row. I don't want to fight. Let's not fight. Well, what would we do? Drink until we're so drunk we can't fight, which then ends up in a fight anyways. Well, that's not working. Well, maybe we'll just pretend we're good and go to church and pretend like we're good. Only to not be good. Well, what would it take for me to be good? Well, it would take me to be honest and stop the struggle with what the story is I'm telling, be honest about it, be honest about what is and isn't working for me, get honest about what I really want, and in that place, ask myself, what story would I need to tell that would give me the energy to go that direction? So I stop, I struggle, and I submit. I submit to a better story. I submit to a commitment to what I want. And then the last piece in this one is where we get Andres' fire, and I'm going to bring it back up here in a second. This is where we get Andres' fire. Beaded sweat coming down his forehead, just fire in his eyes that I can see, the rage of the images of people and the way the medicine is treating people, and him as a doctor knowing the dark side of the medicine game, the dark side of the pharmaceutical game, the dark side of the food game, knowing and watching people dying on his watch. There's a rage that fills inside of him, pulls him in two different directions. We need all that. And we're going to put all that energy right here in the strike. But this means Andres has to have the courage to stop in that feeling and step out of it for a minute. Step way out of it. And without emotion, be able to look at it and say, okay, well, what's really going on? What's really going on right now? Stop and pull myself out. Struggle. Submit to the new story and what I know I want. And then strike. I'm really not that good with technology. It's not natural for my brain. It's just not natural. Some people are natural with it. When I first started opening up ClickFunnels or any other technology before that was way harder, I was like, I would open up and my mind would just go, ew. Oh, how many can relate? Raise your hands. You don't want to go there, so you do it in a closet. When you open up your account, you're like, oh. Then you get positive and you come out and you make your move, which is great, but you still have a problem, which is you tell a story, well, software should be easy. It's not. Because what's hard is you it up all the time. It's funny, you'll like message customer support. I swear to God, this time it's broken. It's broken. Customer support's on the backside going, throwing each other Red Bulls. Just send them the same swipe. Hey, dumb, it's you. Just kidding, translate it. That was a Garrett version. Send them the Russell version. We believe in you. You can do this. Try this. Which I think is probably a little more healthy for you guys to get. But underneath it, what's really going on is a little message. It's like, slap you in the face and say, follow the step-by-step tutorial. Have you watched it? No. Garrett version. What? Russell version. We appreciate your setback. We still believe in you. We are a tribe of funnel hackers. You are still one funnel away. And here's the reality. If it was me only here, there'd be like 42 people in the front. We get some done, but it'd be a much smaller room. So I appreciate that I get to add a little spice to what is really the fuel that works around here, which is the heart of the teams that put this thing together for you. One of the funnest parts for me inside of this and being able to be involved here is the fact that I'm a product of the product, right? I'm not like a hired gun that gets paid, come speak. There's hired guns coming in. Tony's amazing. That's a big gun. He's going to do some great, cool shit with you guys this afternoon. And it's going to be amazing. You're going to be lit on fire. Most of you will not be able to talk. So if you're going to talk, do it at lunch. You will lose your voices and it'll be great. And inside of all that fire, there's a heartbeat. Like a heartbeat that's waiting for you to choose. Like I want all of you to feel what I see in Andres' eyes. What I see in Russell's eyes. What I see in Dave's eyes. What I see in Todd's eyes. What I see in your eyes. What I see in mine. What I see in my wife now. Which is an understanding that the only obstacle to me building this game is me. And this entire model is a model that I have proven with thousands and thousands of clients since 2016. Live or die. 27,000 stacks a month through our apps, having conversations with God. Not with me, not with you and somebody else, but the courage for you to begin to have conversations that matter. Because customer support's there to support. Russ is there to support. I'm there to support. The community's here to support. But see, most of us, we're not around you all the time. Which means you're going to go into the night, you're going to go into the void every single day. You're going to wake up and you're going to have to make some really hard decisions. And most of those decisions are just a decision to go one more day. Will I do it today? Will I do it today? I had to stop inside of what I was doing a year and 2 months ago because my wife came to me and she said, listen, in your pursuit to teach everybody to have it all, we're losing it again. And I had to challenge some really hard questions. We had WarriorCon 4 coming up. We already had 1,000 tickets sold to the event. We were going to push to 3,000. And I'm sitting there in a stack on one morning, and this voice inside of this stack is calling and speaking to me, and I don't even want to type what it's telling me. I don't even want to type it. Because I was so committed to my story, so committed to a story I'd played for so long. I'm going to build stadiums. I'm going to build rooms. I'm going to change lives. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this in this way. Like this was the story. And then when I got to the end of it, it was very, very simple. I didn't care about the room or the capacity or what it was we were doing. I was after one thing, impacting a man. And in our attempt to scale, we were losing impact the way that I wanted it. The potency of what I had stood for was beginning to become watered down. And so I made a decision via a stack that I sent to my teams that morning, and it said, cancel WarriorCon 4, which was a $600,000 decision. I'm not talking about what would happen to the event or beyond that. I'm talking about hotel commitments. What you all don't know about this big building that don't run events? We don't just send a hope note to the Gaylord, say, hey, we're thinking about bringing some people over. They might eat some of your food. Could you save a room for us? This is big commitments. You have to write big checks long before anybody shows up. That seat you're in was paid for. You're like, oh, I bought my ticket. I was like, There goes on with this game that you don't understand. A weight that comes with living your calling. A price that comes with it. But I was committed to that voice, and that voice said, let it go. And so I did. And my teams looked at me like, what are you doing? The $600,000, we got to refund these tickets. What are we going to do? I was like, it doesn't matter. Because I know what I want, and I know what I need to do, and I know what the story is, and I will do whatever is required to do it. I will do whatever is required. Write this down, please, as I wrap up. I will do whatever is required. And if you find yourself in a situation where you have committed to a project, and in my case, it was creating the Warrior Box, and you commit to write 5 books in 1 year, which was a nightmare. And every day I woke up with the same feeling. I was like, this. And deadlines and people, and where is it? And I'm like, every morning, I fucking hate this. These books, everybody, this whole game. And by the end, I was like, sounded just like Russell. And I just kept writing. And it worked. And there was a peace that came in it, but there was a commitment to do what was required. When no one else is watching, and no one else is cheerleading me, and no one else is saying, attaboy, you can do it. There was no fire. There was no big room. There was no motivational videos, unless I went to them, but I don't. There was just me in the stack, reframing myself, giving myself an opportunity to stop, to struggle, to submit, and to strike. On your feet. On your feet. Turn to the person next to you. We're going to go through these 4, embed them in your mind, and then I'm going to give you one last thought. We're going to be done for today. The words are simple. They are stop, struggle, submit, and strike. Stop, struggle, submit, and strike. Now I'm going to say move. Hold on. I'll say move. Then you say the first word, which is stop. Then I'll say move. You'll say the second word, which is? Then I'll say move, and you'll say the third word, which is? Then I'll say move, and you'll say the fourth word, which is? And we're just going to do that a couple times to wrap up. I want to make sure it gets in your brain and that you hear it and feel it. If you are standing next to somebody and you're trying to do tough guy move, would you want to see what tough guy move is? Let me show you tough guy move, and I guarantee you're going to fuck up your business and you're not going to pull it off. Here's tough guy move. You know what goes on in tough guy move's mind? That girl over there for sure checking me out. No, she's going to say these 4 words and make 5 times more than you this year. Let's go. Here we go. We're going to start this. We're going to go 2 times through this. Here's our first time through. Move. 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 Ooh. Let's do it again. Here we go. Move. 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 Oh, I like it. Let's go again. Here we go. Move. 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 And our grand finale, grab the shoulders of the person in front of you. Make this a fit. I'm just warming you up for Tony. Come on. You know it's going to get sweaty and spicy here in about 2 hours. I don't want you to pull a hamstring. Let's go. Here we go. Move. Now, when we do it, you're going to give them one of these. Not around the throat. Not around the throat. On the shoulders. Ha! Yeah, here we go. Starting at the top. Deep breath in. Release. Deep breath in. Release. All right, here we go. Move. 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 Hug your buddy up and have a seat. Okay, so this book, do yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor. Even if this just inspires you to do a little bit more, I know it looks thick and intimidating. It's not meant to read from front to back. We've had a couple thousand of these already go out.
I think this will add some huge value to you for those that choose to take it on and use it. I'm excited to see what you open up. As a community of funnel hackers, and to the teams that make this event possible, I thank you. And to a product and to a movement that gave me a chance to not only do these, but an opportunity to continue to fulfill the thing that comes through me. I'll never come here perfect, but I'll come here on point, and I'll give you whatever I got in that moment. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for having me. You're six.
Oh man, I'm curious how many guys are sitting here being like, I can't believe this happened last year and I was not sitting in that room experiencing that. Okay, every time I watch this, I'm like, I was there and I just experienced it again and it's so good. Anyway, I hope that all of you guys can join us next year at Funnel Hacking Live. It's gonna be insane. As of right now, the dates are set to be in March, and hopefully the coronavirus doesn't push that, but right now it's gonna be in March and it's gonna be amazing. Hopefully you guys can come and experience that live because it is amazing.